Today we're going to talk about personal finances and how to get comfortable with all the jargon. Is fear holding you hostage and keeping you from taking control of your money? That used to be me. There were times I knew my finances were getting out of control, so instead of taking control, I froze up and ignored it. I didn't open my mail, I didn't pay attention to my accounts, but went around with anxiety gnawing at the back of my mind. And I even had times that I feared the phone ringing. Had it gotten so bad that those dreaded collection calls were starting? All because I was afraid and uncomfortable with the terms surrounding finance. The best part of aging is that I am way more willing to confront the icky. So let's talk about money. For me, the language of personal finance always sounded like golf speak. I did not get it. So then, as I mentioned, I just avoided learning anything about it. Plus, I thought I was way too poor for any of it to apply to me. So today, I'd like to demystify some of the jargon and give you some ideas of where to start and encourage you to find a financial guru of your own. If you Google the phrase basics of personal finance, a list comes up for you, and some of it is really obvious and super easy. And for some of you, you were just triggered and have already stopped listening. So let's take a few minutes to go through a few of them. Knowing your income is vital. It is shocking when you first notice the difference between how much you're technically paid and how much you bring home. So look at your pay stub and look it in the eye and see where your money's going to federal taxes, state taxes, health care, dependent care, etc. And humans do make mistakes, and so do machines. So look monthly and make sure it makes sense. It is what you think it should be. Now you know how much you have each month, so you can actually move on to creating a budget. And you really can't create a budget if you have never paid attention to what's actually going in and out of your account. This is especially true for those of you who currently have someone in your life who's handling all the bills. If you have that person now, you need to have them walk you through it and know where your money is and make sure your name is also on every account. We are not 1950s housewives that don't need to worry our pretty little heads about that money stuff. Tell them you want to be involved. And this does not have to be an adversarial moment. You're not accusing anyone of anything. You just need to know in case something happens. I think you should take a month to just observe what you're spending, keep a list of all of it. And if you only ever use a debit or a credit card, you can actually easily look up your accounts online and watch what you're spending. But if you are pulling out a bunch of cash each month, then you need to write down where you're spending it. For me, the only cash I use really these days is for my nails, which I mentioned in every video, sorry, and the occasional tip. After your time of observation, make an official list of your monthly bills, the ones where people will come after you if you don't pay them, like the rent, your car insurance, water, electric, etc. I have mine on an Excel spreadsheet, but there is zero reason to be fancy. You know how I feel about notebooks, so open one up and just start writing it down. Rent, $2,000, car payment, $350. And then after all the must-dos, what do you have left over for food and supplies, gas, cable, streaming internet, entertainment? You know cable's not a must-have for survival, right? It is time to make some decisions. How much do you have left over? And if you need help making these decisions, ask a single mom. They are warriors at this. They've had to do this and make those hard decisions every month. So if this part is new to you, let me know in the comments and we can talk more about budgeting. And one of the upcoming gurus is definitely one you're going to want to check out. She's a genius with budgeting. And in the future videos, we'll talk about how to economize in some of these areas. But for now, we're just simply confronting the truth. Truth bombs. The next thing on the list it mentions is pay yourself first, which I always scoffed at because I felt like I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together, much less have anything to put in savings. So I believe the concept was introduced into pop culture from that Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. And when he said, this is one of the big differences between poor people and rich people. I wish I'd listened back then and put $25 away a month, but I didn't. And I was always sure that I would get more money savings when I got more established, but that never really happened because of something called lifestyle creep. The more I had, when I finally started making money, I went and instead of renting, I bought my condo. And it's cost the same as my rent, but I didn't think about the repair costs and HOA fees that would go up. So my monthly bills increased. And I'm not saying it's bad to own, but letting the expenses creep up without paying attention and without having any built-in savings for emergencies was not my best move forward. I realized I would never get out from behind the 8 ball if I didn't learn more. So how do you learn more, and from whom? I'm not a financial advisor nor a guru. I'm just a girl standing in front of the camera, asking it to love her. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I'm just a girl, a gal, a woman, a person, sharing ideas as I learn them. I think the next good step after the truth bomb of looking where your money is going monthly is to expose yourself, immerse yourself in the language of finance. Every financial guru has a distinct money language. And let's see if we can find one that speaks your language. I'm saying guru because I mean a person who's writing books and articles about finance. They're online doing YouTube and Instagram and podcasts. Financial advisors are also important, but that's a different conversation and one we will have in another video. And please use caution. You don't want to bank your entire life savings on what one guy from TikTok said, and I cannot afford to reimburse you if TikTok guy swindles you. So please, that is not what I'm saying. What I am advocating for is, and what I want you to listen to is, I want you to listen and read from a bunch of sources. Get comfortable with the world of personal finance. Then you will be your own guru and make educated decisions in the future. So let's start with a couple of the OGs of personal finance. I'm sure you've heard of their names. Susie Orman. She's been doing this work for years, and she was one of the first people to encourage people, and especially women, to take responsibility for their financial well-being. I used to watch her show on, I think it was CNBC, Can I Afford It? I loved it. She shocked people by saying no, they couldn't afford the vacation or the big car. They were bragging about all they had done, but they didn't have a big enough emergency fund, for instance. For emergency fund, I was like, that's news to me. So I bought and passed on several of her books over the years. Anyway, the best thing I learned from Susie is to pay attention to your feelings about a transaction. If selling your house feels wrong and you don't know why you're feeling anxious, just wait. If you're feeling like you're being pressured to rush into something and it feels off, listen to your feelings. They are a big part of money. Another of the originals is Dave Ramsey. He's a personal finance expert, author, and radio show host, and he disagrees with Susie on several points. I learned about him when I was gifted his Financial Peace University course and went with a friend several years ago. I learned a lot, and he is an advocate for debt-free living lifestyle. His 7 baby steps changed my thinking. The most important thing I learned from Dave Ramsey is the order in which I need to do things, and the biggest life changer of those is the $1,000 emergency fund. So before you start paying off debt, do anything it takes to get this $1,000 emergency fund. For example, I would always pay every last dime at the end of the month to debt. And then when a tire would blow out and I have a big expense like that, I'd have to put it on a credit card and over again. So Dave told me whatever it took to save that $1,000 and use that for the tire. And then fill your emergency fund back up, and then you can start to pay debt. And that's the only way I made headway. So those are the old school people I know. And while I don't think they're perfect for everyone, I feel safe that they're not going to be the TikTok guy that's going to bankrupt you with his risky advice. But social media has brought a new generation of voices, younger financiers and influencers, you definitely need to check out and learn from. Here's a few that I've enjoyed. I've really enjoyed following Tori Dunlap. She's an entrepreneur and author of Financial Feminist. She embodies all I admire in this younger generation of women. She seems fearless and self-actualized in a way that many of us didn't get to till we were 50. She's teaching young women to take control of their money and how to and when to ask for more. She gives specific scripts on how to negotiate for a raise, get better interest rates, and be transparent about how much you earn, etc. I like how concrete and accessible her examples are. She's not a finance major and is coming at personal finance like many of us, learning from the bottom up. She may be your guru, or at least somebody you will learn from. I also follow this woman named Nishka. She does have a degree in finance. She's a British accountant and financial banker, or a former banker. She now works full-time on social media, teaching her followers all things personal finance. I have learned a lot from her, and especially with regard to minimizing my lifestyle and my expenditures. She's very elegant and smart and presents in a way that gives me confidence to do the same. So someone else I think you should get to know is Tiffany Aliche, and she's the budgetnista. She is good with money and good with starting at the beginning, because she had She lost her job when her school closed down, and everything just tanked in on her. And she started from the bottom, and she's very relatable, and she dug herself out of that hole and is awesome at teaching everybody else to do the same. So she's the one I was talking about. If you want to learn about the basics and budgeting, she's your guru. She has online courses that can help you get debt-free and all of that. And speaking of teachers, I have also been loving Steve Chen. He's a math teacher here in LA somewhere. Maybe he lives close to me somewhere. Anyway, he realized his paycheck wasn't going to cut it, so he started investing and adding side hustles like tutoring. And at 33, he retired from teaching. He has a huge social media following of practical advice that I caught myself screenshotting a lot and looking into. Both he and Tori Dunlap told me about high-interest savings accounts, and both recommended the same one, so I'm looking into it. Overall, I'm learning the words and concepts from them and checking several sources and doing my research. The theme of this video is to learn and do your own research, and that Missy cannot afford to fix either of our boo-boos. So, right now I'm reading this book called Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Here it is. He was featured on my favorite podcast, Diary of a CEO. And in fact, I would say that Stephen Bartlett is my new Oprah. He has such interesting and diverse guests, and I'm always learning something from them. His guests are experts in their field, and those fields vary widely. So I will let you know what I learned from this book. And a bonus tip, go check out DOAC, Diary of a CEO on YouTube. It is great. To wrap up what we've talked about, if you have been uncomfortable talking about and learning about your personal finances, get reading and listening and watching. Find a guru that speaks your language. Ignore the idiots and get your own house in financial order and thrive. No more head in the sand. No more fearing the ringing phone. Use your powers for good and teach other people what you've learned and pass it on. So this was a long video for us, so thank you so much for staying with me. And please like this if you've learned something. I'd love to hear how you're doing. And this has been Gen X Missy. Until next time.